The Galactic Council had made their calculations with the cold precision that defined their species. Earth, that small blue marble spinning lazily in the outer rim of an unremarkable galaxy, would fall within 3 solar cycles. The humans, they reasoned, were simply too primitive to mount any meaningful defense against the Zerathi fleet. Commander Zektar of the Zerathi Dominion reviewed the tactical displays one final time. Earth's orbital defenses consisted of a handful of crude space stations and what the humans optimistically called their International Defense Fleet, roughly 24 vessels that wouldn't have qualified as escort craft in Zerathi military doctrine. "Begin the siege," Zektar commanded, his mandibles clicking with satisfaction. "Standard protocol, orbital bombardment until surrender, then resource extraction." The first wave of Zerathi dreadnoughts emerged from hyperspace with the kind of overwhelming force that had conquered 17 worlds before Earth. Massive ships, each one larger than Earth's biggest cities, arranged themselves in a perfect sphere around the planet, their weapons charged with the deep hum of exotic matter annihilation arrays. But something unexpected happened. As the Zerathi fleet moved into attack formation, Earth's pathetic little defense fleet didn't retreat. They didn't surrender. They didn't even attempt to negotiate. Instead, they did something that would be talked about in hushed whispers across the galaxy for generations to come. They attacked. The lead ship was little more than a converted cargo hauler called the Endurance. Captain Sarah Chen had been hauling ice from Europa just 3 months prior. Now she piloted her vessel directly toward the largest Zerathi dreadnought, her ship's primitive fusion engines screaming at maximum burn. "All units, this is Chen. Remember what we're fighting for down there." Her voice crackled across the communications array. "Every second we buy them is another second for evacuation protocols." The Endurance opened fire with weapons that were primitive by galactic standards, crude kinetic railguns and chemical explosives that shouldn't have posed any threat to Zerathi shielding. But Captain Chen wasn't aiming for the hull. She was aiming for the weapon emplacements. The first railgun slug punched through the dreadnought's forward cannon array, sending cascades of exotic energy spiraling into space. The second took out a sensor cluster. The third breached a secondary reactor housing. Other human vessels followed her lead. They were outgunned by factors that should have made resistance mathematically impossible, but they fought with a ferocity that made Zektar's tactical computers throw error messages. The New Horizon rammed itself directly into the engine assembly of a Zerathi cruiser. The solar wind detonated its entire payload of nuclear warheads inside the hangar bay of another enemy vessel. The Defiant managed to board a Zerathi destroyer, actually board it with nothing but magnetic clamps and an airlock, and fought room by room until the ship's life support systems failed. But it was Captain Chen who made the decision that changed everything. Her ship was dying. Hull breaches vented atmosphere into the void. Her weapons were offline, her engines failing. Half her crew was dead or dying. But as she watched the Zerathi fleet begin to regroup for their bombardment of Earth, she made a choice that defied every principle of self-preservation that had evolved in every sentient species across the galaxy. She turned the Endurance toward Earth's largest orbital station, humanity's primary evacuation center, where millions of civilians waited for transport ships that would never come in time. "This is Captain Chen to all Zerathi vessels," she transmitted, on all frequencies. "You want to see what humans do when we're cornered? Here's your demonstration." The Endurance detonated every remaining fusion warhead in its arsenal simultaneously. The explosion was visible from Earth's surface, a brief star that outshone the sun for exactly 3.7 seconds. Captain Sarah Chen died in that flash of light. But her sacrifice created an electromagnetic pulse that disabled half the Zerathi fleet's targeting systems and gave Earth's evacuation transports the window they needed to escape. The siege lasted 47 days. The humans fought with everything they had, converted mining equipment, repurposed research vessels, even personal shuttles loaded with improvised explosives. They lost every engagement in terms of pure military mathematics. But they won something else. On the 47th day, as the last human vessel, a tiny medical transport called Mercy, finally fell to Zerathi fire, Something unprecedented happened across the galactic communications network. Every species, every civilization, every member world of the Council received the same transmission. It was 47 days of combat footage, medical logs, personal messages, and tactical data that the humans had been broadcasting continuously throughout the siege. The galaxy watched a species choose extinction over surrender. They saw humans sharing their last rations with wounded enemies. They witnessed acts of heroism that violated every evolutionary principle of self-preservation. They observed a people who faced annihilation with such courage that it redefined what courage meant. The Zerathi completed their conquest. Earth was strip-mined. Every human settlement was reduced to dust. But they had miscalculated something fundamental about the galaxy they sought to dominate. Within 6 months, the Zerathi found themselves facing rebellion on 17 worlds simultaneously. The Alteran Council declared independence. The Centauri Federation severed all trade agreements. Even the normally peaceful Kepler Collective began developing weapons of unprecedented destructive capability. If humans could fight like that, the rebel broadcasts declared, what's our excuse? The message was simple and spread like wildfire across 1,000 worlds. Humanity had shown them that some things were worth dying for. More importantly, they had shown them that tyranny only succeeded when good beings chose to do nothing. The Zerathi dominion fell within 2 years. Not to superior firepower or advanced technology, but to the same stubborn refusal to surrender that had defined humanity's last stand. Captain Sarah Chen's sacrifice had saved more than an evacuation transport. It had saved the concept of freedom itself. Today, no ship travels near Earth's coordinates, not out of fear of human ghosts or residual radiation, but out of respect. The dead world orbits its star in silence, surrounded by a debris field that tells the story of the 47 days when a primitive species taught the galaxy what it meant to be truly civilized. In the end, humanity's greatest victory wasn't surviving. It was showing everyone else how to live.